What's up, everybody? Jay Leone here today with what a lot of people have been interested to hear, my opinions on the DNA 40 board. This is my review on the DNA 40, and I'll put this disclaimer out here at the beginning. I am not an expert. These are my experiences with the product. These are my opinions of the product. There's tons of other reviewers out there. If you don't like what I have to say, go watch one of them. And if I'm incorrect, I apologize from the beginning because, again, this is some Joe Schmo's opinion and thoughts on the DNA 40. So, with all that out of the way, I hope everybody is doing well today. And without much further ado, let's get to the review of the DNA 40 from Evolv.
The next one, they're not gonna kill you. Don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Stand up, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain.
Alright, so the DNA 40 from Evolv. We're going to be reviewing it, obviously, in the Vaporshark RDNA, which we reviewed last week. I hope everybody liked that review. Hope everybody found the information informative and somewhat entertaining. I know I'm not the most high-spirited guy in the world sometimes, but nonetheless, the DNA 40. Let's go to Evolv's website. I'm already on Evolv's website. I believe you can get these from Evolv. They're around $60. I'll post the link below if you're a modder or somebody wanting to build your own mod, because I know there's a lot of people that build mods. So it's around $60, and again, it's from Evolv. And I'll just read you some quick specs from a spec sheet they have on the Evolv spec sheet. Now let's get that boring stuff out of the way. Okay, it goes from 1 watt to 40 watts. It's capable of outputting 1 volt to 9 volts. Output current continuous is 16 amps. Output current instantaneous peak is 23 amps. Let's see here. Atomizer resistance. Temperature sensing wire cold. It can go from 0.10 ohms to 2 ohms. I'm just reading this right off, not 2 ohms. I'm reading the wrong column. I apologize. 0.10 ohms to 1.0. So if you use a nickel wire, it will read from 0.10 to 1.0 ohm. Temperature limits from 200 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll discover later that it actually does Celsius, which isn't even listed on the spec sheet. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't know why it's doing that, but it does do that. And anything else here you really need to know? Not really. That's the specifications of it. Nothing else you probably care about. So the specs are out of the way. Not too much further ado. Let's get down to let's get down to the floor here, not the floor, the table, and look at the screen. Let's talk about it. We'll do a nickel build. Yeah, let's just go for it. Alright, everybody, so the DNA 40 from Evolv, that's what we're looking at today. And we're obviously taking a look at it in my Vaporshark DNA 40. Just going to go over some basic features of the DNA 40. I think it's being called the DNA 40D board. Yeah, DNA 40D. I'm not sure what the D stands for, but yeah, that's what it's being called. And I cannot find if this screen here, this larger display, is being used on other devices, or it's just being used on Vaporshark brand. Because I saw the Vapor Flask and I haven't seen the new screen on that one, so I don't know if this is a issue that they are solving for Vaporshark and not a general new screen for the whole DNA 40 board. So I'm not sure on that. I'm also not sure if that rapid charger that's in the Vaporshark is the actual charge port that goes with the DNA 40 comes with it or not, or it's being sold by Evolv, or that's something Vaporshark manufactured themselves, or they've added the supercharging to it. I'm not actually sure on that. So if anybody knows, you could put it down below in the comments, and I would appreciate that. But I couldn't find any info on it. But anyways, we'll start with the board. Let's start with some simple stuff here. Basically, DNA 40, it's going to be a 40 watt device. Sure enough, there we go, we're at 40 watts. You can go 40 watts all the way down to 1 watt. It does scroll pretty quickly. Could be a little faster though. Boom. So you can go all the way down to 1 watt and all the way up to 40 watts. Yes. Let's see. Obviously it has step down now, so you actually could fire this at any voltage you want. You can fire it below 4 volts, you won't get the flashing resistance like on the old DNA boards. They finally have step down on them. They also finally have reverse battery protection, so things they should have had a long time ago, they now finally have. What is this? The third board. There was a 20 to 30, yeah, so the third board. I think they had a DNA 12 way back when, so actually the 4th board that I could remember. And then they do now have step down and reverse battery protection. Obviously the big key on this board, 40 watts, you know, isn't nothing to jump up, consider they had 30 watts previously. But this board is special due to their temperature control feature. Now, a temperature control feature. I've been using this for 2 weeks now. I'm still not super pumped on the temperature control. Can't say that word. But it is what it is, and, you know, everybody's going to have their opinion on it. I have learned or attempted some nickel builds, and I have successfully figured out a way to do them correctly. So I will show that here the next bit, because there's really not too much to show with the screen itself. I mean, you have your ohm reading, and it does read ohms down to a 1/10. Here, give me 1 second, let me grab my K-Fun right here. So it's going to be a very accurate ohm reading and very accurate voltage reading, which I do like, being able to see my ohms accurately here. You can see, let's press the fire button. You can see I'm at a 1.61 ohm, so it is very accurate. And voltage, oh boy, that's way too high for that K-Fun. Let's bring that down. Okay. And voltage, you can see it's 5.03, 5.02, so it's very accurate to the 10th. So that's that. But I mean, that's pretty much the screen and display and what you're going to get. We talked about in the Vaporshark review about the battery life issue that I'm having, and it seems to be common with these new DNA 40 boards that have been released. Yeah, I'm still having that problem. Still do not like what it's doing, because say I'm going out and my battery life shows full, and I'm like, alright, I got a full battery, but in my head I know it's not full because I've been using it for a day. Then as soon as I leave, I get in my car and I take my first vape, and then boom, the battery meter starts going down. And then I know in my head, oh shit, here we go, my battery's about to die, because as soon as it starts to, that bar starts to go down, you only have probably an hour solid of vape time before it's a dead battery. Kind of stupid. I did do some more testing on this battery meter here. When it first started to show sign of battery wear, or battery getting low, I should say, the meter did drop down at 3.60 volts was when it started to finally move. So from 3.6 and up, it's going to display full battery. It is correct. That's the way that Vaporshark has let me know, and it is true. From 3.6 up, it considers it a full battery, and from there on, it just starts to drain. And at 3.29 volts, it is completely dead, and you can't fire a device anymore. And from 3.29 volts, I did charge it so I can get an actual charge time with the micro USB port that's on the device here. And it did take 1 hour and 30 minutes to charge a full battery. So that rapid charge is really quick. That's very nice. But the battery meter, like I said, it's really janky. I don't know why. It seems like Evolv took a step back. If this is a DNA 40 issue, haven't heard only one person that's had this issue that I'm having right now. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if this. I really think it's an issue, and I really think Evolv will eventually fix it. But right now they're claiming that's what they want it to do. That's what they're saying. So, anyways, that's the screen. Give me a second here. We're going to get some stuff together. We're going to do a nickel build on camera. We'll talk more about the temperature control. Alright, so to do temperature control, you're going to need Ni200 is what the Ni200 pure nickel wire. This is vapor wire from Vaporshark. They have a website too if you want to actually get the wire straight from vapor wire, but Vaporshark sells this. I think I paid $12.99 for, no, not $12.99. I think I paid $10 for 30 feet of this 30 gauge pure nickel wire. The reason I ordered it, obviously, I know it's a little more through Vaporshark, but I was ordering the Vaporshark DNA 40, so I just ordered it all together, so I don't have to go 2 places. So you can get it from them. It is called Ni200 pure nickel wire. Get it on eBay. It's really cheap on eBay also. It's like 50 feet for $8 or $7, something like that. So it's not very expensive, but you will need this wire to do temperature control. Know that, otherwise it will not work. What we're going to do here is, actually I already have some. I'm going to tell you my experiences with this stupid nickel wire. This right here is some twisted 30 gauge nickel wire here. Just took 2 pieces, and I took a pen here, and I basically folded a long piece of nickel wire inside this little cap here. I got it caught up in here, and I just twisted the pen while I had the other end with a pair of needle nose and just twisted it, and I just keep going and going until it snapped basically. So you don't need a drill to do it. I do have a drill, I was just lazy and I did it that way. There's videos on how to twist wire without a drill, or with a drill if that's the way you want to do it. It's very easy. The reason I twisted it is to make it more sturdy, because 30 gauge is very 30 gauge, and not only is it 30 gauge, it's nickel wire. It's very soft and it's very bendy, and I mean it's easy to mold to what you want, but it's just very, it's not sturdy. It's not like your 26 and your 28 or your 24 gauge wire. I mean, it's very flimsy wire, as you can see here. So I twisted it to get a little more rigidity in the wire, and not only that, personally me, I'm building it on this Zenith right here, which you can see has the slits and it has Allen key screws. I did a review for this a while back, and I still use this atomizer. And basically, when I would tighten down, where's my little Allen key? Oh boy, I'm knocking everything over. Alright, my little Allen key here. When I would tighten down the nuts up here, I would basically break my wire. The wire would just snap in there. So I saw some stuff online, and I just took their advice and I twisted some together, and it's been working without breaking a little bit better. It still does break though, so you still have to be careful. I'd probably recommend going with the 28 gauge nickel. Just know if you do get a lower gauge nickel, you will have to wrap more wraps around that that drill bit or whatever you're using to wrap around, because you need to get that resistance to 0.15 or higher, and this barely has any resistance in this wire. I've been doing 10 wraps of this on a single coil, and I've been getting 0.16. So basically, I wrapped it off camera because it's just a little easier. I did 9 wraps on this one. I used a bigger screwdriver. Usually I use this one here, which is about 2.5. I think it's either a 2 or 2.5 millimeter drill bit, and then instead I used this one here, which is like a 3 millimeter screwdriver here, just so I can get my resistance up a little higher and use at least a little bit less wraps and make it a little easier to work with. So you can see my wraps there. They are spaced apart. You can do a micro coil with nickel wire, but you have to make sure that the wires are all evenly spaced, like meaning they're perfectly touching. Otherwise you will get a short and it just won't work. So I've been doing it this way with success. I have seen some people do micro coil builds with nickel wire, but you know what, this way works good for me, and it's just been working. I'm just showing you what I've been doing. Again, I'm no expert at this whatsoever. I had it for 2 weeks. There's people out there that probably can knock these builds out with no problem whatsoever. So yeah, there it is. You can see it's not really spaced out perfectly even, but I will space it out here. I'm just gonna do one of these numbers here and just scrunch it together. This stuff is very, very easy to mold, just so you know. That usually helps doing that. Come on, focus. There it is. So yeah, I keep hitting my camera because I'm literally 2 inches from my camera. So I do one of those numbers there, scrunch it together, and you know what? I'll pretty it up when I get it on the mod. Alright, so basically what I did is I just inserted my leads here through these slits and these posts. As you can see the coil sitting all janky and sideways here. Like I said, this stuff's very easy and malleable, so be careful with it because it's very easy to fuck it up, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so it's in there. Like I said, it's a twisted coil. I'm just going to do a single coil because, you know, that's where I'm at right now. I'm easy builds, trying to keep it simple and whatnot. I got it in there. I'm just going to tighten down these posts. And now, if you have an atomizer with posts you can wrap the wire around, if you can wrap the wire around the top, use that atomizer because you have less, well, you won't break the wires off, and it'll be easier to just wrap the wire around that top post instead of sticking it through a slit and then jamming a screw on it. It easily can break the wires. And not only that, they recommend that you have a really tight, snug connection, and the tightest way to have a connection is to have the wire right underneath the screw right there. So yeah, be careful. Some other things you can do if you're having issues with breaking wire and you don't want to twist your wire, you could actually take your leads here. I'll try to show you what I'm talking about here. And insert it in again. Let's see if I can do this. Wow, I can do it. And then twist it. And just to show you what I'm talking about here real quick, I actually took the coil out. And I'll show you, you could actually do this a lot easier out of the atomizer. Take your lead and fold it back here. Now, don't forget, I'm looking through a viewfinder, so it's not the easiest thing to do, but just fold it back. Be careful not to, careful not to mess with your coil too much. But so I'm holding my coil with this hand, and I'm taking this lead here, and I'm just going to twist it. And just something like that, just a few twists, and you can see it's just making the wire a little bit stronger, so when you do put that screw down on it, it should be strong enough to where it won't break. Alright, so here's the nickel build all cleaned up. You can see it's pretty evenly spaced. It's not perfect. I'm not, you know, I don't claim to be an expert, but yeah, it's a single coil. I think it ended up being 9 wraps, twisted wire, 30 gauge nickel wire. It's not horrible. I didn't have any issues with the wires breaking off. I just snipped them off here at the back. They aren't perfect either, but you know what? It's there. It works. Here we go. We're at, I think, 15.5 watts. And let's fire her up. Seems to be glowing pretty evenly. Alright, and some things now that we gotta look at here are how to get into temperature control mode. So to do that, just press the fire button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lock the device. Then hold the up and down buttons on the side. And it's gonna say hold to change temp. And right now it says off. So we'll go here and we'll adjust it. It goes from 600, leave all the way down to 200. I don't know how I changed it to Celsius. That's the first time that's happened. Okay, Alright, you're watching me learning something I haven't found out yet. I guess it does do Celsius, and I didn't know it did Celsius. So it's 600. Oh boy. Focus. God. It's 600 degrees all the way down to 200. You can see that there. 200, and then after 200 it goes down into Celsius. So if you want to use Celsius, that's there too. I haven't heard anybody talk about that one actually. That seems different. Okay, so for this experiment, we'll do it at 440. That's where I seem to have liked it. So instead of 440, press the fire button, and we're out of that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're out of that. You see now it says 440 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's my ohms of my coil, because now it has cooled. You can see it's a 0.12 ohm resistance of the coil, and I believe that's in spec. Yes, it is. It's firing. So now you can see how she fires with some cotton and some juice. Just piddly. Very piddly. It's hard to see because you need airflow and all that stuff to get the full temperature control. And I mean, if you could put a camera inside the atomizer while you were actually vaping on it, that would be the way to do this. But, alright, we're at 24 watts now. My battery's down on my camera. I wonder if that's why it's... Youch. Alright, so yeah, we're going to go up top and show you the rest of this up there because my camera is dying, so the focus is like stopped working. But anyways, it's going to be too hard to show you what I need to show you down here. So let's go up top and continue this conversation. So, we're all built. That took a lot longer than I thought, and it didn't work out as easily as I thought. But anyways, let's continue this conversation here. So you saw me build it first of all. It's not too bad. It's just flimsy and it gets easily whacked up and the leads break easily when you tighten them down. You gotta make sure they're tight because if not you'll get false readings or it won't work at all. If you do a microcoil you gotta make sure they're nice and tight and they're all evenly touching. Otherwise it won't work at all. But anyways, I'm gonna cut to the chase here because the biggest reason or the biggest benefit of temperature control is no more dry hits, no more burnt wicks, no more nasty taste in your mouth, which is the biggest takeaway I can take from this whole temperature control thing because honestly, I don't really care what temperature I'm vaping. I don't care if I'm vaping at 400 or 500 or 600 as long as I'm not getting a dry hit. At 600, I find that I never hit the cutoff, at least with the build I have on here, considering it never hits that. And, yeah, but the biggest benefit is not ever getting a dry hit. I'll try to show it to you down low, but it just didn't work out right, and it kept the splatter kept getting back on the camera. So let's see if we can do it up here. I want to basically not dry fire, but burn this wick, not burn this wick, but dry up this wick, and so you can kind of see that it will never let you get a dry wick, or it will never ignite in flames. And let me state this real quick. By the way, the vapor looks very piddly when you don't have airflow going to it. It all changes when the airflow hits the coil because, honestly, the temperature control, let's see here. Yeah, it's hitting the cutoff like within a second of me pressing the button. And that is because there's no air flowing on the coil. What the air does is it cools the coil down and allows for more vapor and more flavor and all that kind of good stuff. So, you can see that wick is pretty dry and it's barely firing. I mean, let's see here. Yeah, it's telling me, let's see if you can see that. Temperature protected. So it's temperature protected. Temperature protected. It's basically what it's doing is it's throttling down the wattage. So as soon as it hits that 440 or whatever you have it set to, it takes your wattage and it throttles it down. So and the way I see it is it's like cruise control. As soon as you set your cruise to 60 or something, your car's going to go to 60. And sometimes you'll get a hill, and you'll have to accelerate. You'll have to press on the acceleration to get that same power going up that hill. But as soon as you hit 60, then it will kind of step off the accelerator and kind of just coast there. That's kind of what it's doing here. It's, you know, letting go a little bit, bringing it down the temperature, then it's bringing it right back up. It's just making sure you stay at that temperature you have it set at. If that makes any sense, or I'm just an idiot. So I mean, take it as you want. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, you'll never get a dry hit. You just won't. That wick is dry, and once you have a dry wick, you're not going to get vapor. This is it. I mean, it's going to get worse as it gets drier and drier. You're not going to see any vapor whatsoever. I should probably show you the wick. Yeah. And it's just instantly going to temperature protect, so it's barely doing anything. Yeah. And justify that, but there you go. Very, very dry. It's not going to burn it. It just won't. You know, I could do this all day. It's not going to give you a dry hit whatsoever. But you know what? Let me put some juice on here. I need a vape. I've done a lot of talking in this video. I'll tell you, by the time I'm done editing this thing, it could be 4 or 5 hours of work. Alright. Put some juice back on there. Let's vape it. And I ever said again, 25 watts, 440 degrees, 0.12 ohm. Bring that wattage up just a little bit. And we're up to 28. Much better, much better. It's great. I mean, not having a dry hit at all is great. Not having to worry about did I juice it, did I not juice it. Yeah, that part of it is great. The part that I don't understand is, well, it's like learning a whole new thing again. It's learning how to drive all over again. I mean, trying to find that temperature that you like. Some people like that really warm vape, and you maybe want to go a little higher than 400. I just put it at 420 once, and then I raised it to 440, and I was like, all right, it's good. I mean, I can't tell the difference between 420 and 440 and then 460. I mean, maybe from 400 to 600, sure, there's a difference. The greatest thing is you don't have to know ever get a dry hit again. I did build in my K-Fun with pure nickel, and I used that for a while, but I didn't like that because I couldn't use it on any other device, so I was kind of limited to using it on the Vaporshark. So I put regular Kanthal back in, and Kanthal is just so much easier to build on. I just don't see myself building a bunch of nickel builds, just because it's a pain in the ass, and for what I mean, I know when to drip. I know when my juice is running dry. Once you've been doing this for a while, it's great. Now, this whole temperature control will be cool when it's in something for beginners. I know this may sound weird, but for instance, say it's built into, it's just integrated into an ego, like it's automatically set to a certain temperature, and a new vapor goes and buys one, they fill up a tank, and it's already got nickel, and it's all built for them, and they can go and they can take a hit, and they'll never have that experience that we as vapors did if we started off, you know, like me 2-3 years ago, well, two plus years ago, when you got that dry hit and you got discouraged because you're like, this tastes like shit, and you didn't want to continue to do it, but you kept pushing forward. So that's when I think this is really going to be nice for the new vapors, when they can somehow integrate it into an ego device and have a temperature set, and this way they can put on a Clearo or a tank or a cartomizer and never get a burnt hit. I mean, that's great. That will be great. For me, at the point I've gone through all the burnt hits I could possibly go through. It is what it is. It's nice. It's a step forward, and we'll see where it plays in the market in the future. I mean, right now, there's not really a whole lot of temperature control device out there. I've seen the Vaporshark, obviously Vaporshark, the DNA, oh my god. The Vapor Flask has it. I know there's a few others, but it's not, you know, not a lot of people are using it right now. I see China's cloning it, though. I don't know how they're going to do that. I'm sure they'll figure a way out, and we'll see if it's any good. But to go pay $400 just to get a temperature control device, I wouldn't do it. This was reasonably priced, so I did do it, and yeah, I wanted the device too. I didn't buy it for the temperature control. So it is what it is. It does have its benefits, but otherwise it's just it's learning a whole new thing over again. What else is there to know about it? Oh, when you do put a new atomizer on there, or you say you just built something like I did, make sure it's cooled down before you put it on your DNA 40 device of choice. Because if not, you will get false readings. It won't read it right. It won't control it the right way. So make sure the atomizer coil is cooled down before you put it on there. And what it didn't show in the close-up is when you do put a cooled new coil on there, the DNA will tell you, it will display on the bottom, is this a new coil, up or down? And up if you've inserted a new coil, down if it's not a new coil. That's simple. It's constantly reading resistances, so it's giving you a true resistance. And you'll see the resistance go up and down, you know, based on heat being applied to the coil resistance is going to fluctuate. So that too is something I didn't go into all the little menu features in here, like, you know, left mode, right mode, stealth mode, all that stuff. It's all out there. I mean, you can look on, I'll put links for all the websites you need to check that out if you want to look at that. This is my dumbed down version of the temperature control. There's so much more. Let me just go through something real quick. I had the whole thing pulled up. I'm on the spec sheet for the DNA 40 board. It says there's something called preheat. I'll read it just word for word from here, from the Evolv website. It says when a DNA 40 is used with temperature sensing atomizer, an additional feature called preheat is activated. No vapor is produced, and the temperature is when the temperature is below boiling point of the liquid. Preheat applies extra power until the heating coil is up to operating temperature to shorten the delay between pressing the fire button and generating vapor. Because the preheat temperature is based, it will not overheat or burn the vapor. So basically what it's saying, it's like a boost. It's ramping up to get you to that temperature, and then, you know, staying steady at whatever setting you have it set to. That's what the preheat is. I mean, and another thing to know is, I get confused with this too. Say you set it at 25 watts, 440 degrees. Which one are you getting, you're wondering? Well, it's going to heat it up at 25 watts. So you're vaping at 25 watts until you hit that limit. Then it will throttle down. But just so you know, it is vaping 25 watts until you hit the temperature control limit. then it'll throttle down, then throttle back up to your desired wattage. It's just trying to level itself off is what it's doing. So if you actually look at the screen, you won't be able to see it, because when there's no... Oh, then actually you did. It's probably dry, that's why. Let me see here. I should have did this down below, but I'm an idiot. And you guys that watch me should know this. It's not great, but here we go. Fire it. You can see the wattage going all crazy. It's at 14, temperature protected, 12, 11, 10, temperature protected. You can see it's never hitting the 25 watts, and that's because the wick is dry. So it's as soon as you have a dry wick, basically, a dry wick, it's gonna go from 0 to 400 like that, because it's already hot. It's instantly hot, and also there's no air coming at it the way I'm doing it. See? I'm not worried about getting a dry hit. It's just great. I mean, it's great not having to worry about dry hits. I mean, that's great. That's the dulled down version of it. I'm getting very uncomfortable in this chair here. It's a very hard chair. Closing. Do I like the DNA 40? What do I think of the board? The board's great. I mean, minus that battery issue, which I don't know if it's a DNA issue or it's a Vaporshark issue. They're telling me it's Evolv's issue, so that's what I'm believing. Until I hear otherwise, I'm going to continue to believe it's a DNA 40 issue with the battery readout problem. Temperature control is great. You won't get dry hits. Set it to a temp and you don't ever have to worry about it again. Downfalls. I mean, obviously, it's a pain in the ass to build on. You need to have pure nickel wire. I don't know if any studies have been done on pure nickel wire and if it's actually healthy to be vaped, considering it's nickel. But, I mean, overall, it's a good board. It's a good board. I mean, if you can get one in a mod for a decent price, go for it. I think it's a good deal. But if you're not into all this crazy temperature stuff and whatnot, just go get a fucking, to be honest, go get a China mod with, you know, a 50-watt chip or a 100-watt chip, whatever. The temperature control is only going to relate to those people that, they like the newest technology. And this is the newest technology that's hitting the stores or the webs, whatever. For me, would I go buy another DNA 40 temperature control device? Probably not, to be honest with you. It is great. I'm glad I have one. At least I could say I have one. But, I mean, I'm fine without it. I'm not missing really a whole lot. And, you know, that's just my opinions. But, anyways, that's it, guys. I hope some of this information was helpful. If you have any questions, again, feel free to ask me. I'll try to answer the best I can. If you're not subscribed, you may subscribe down below here. And until next time, live well and vape on.
You're the next one, then I'm about to kill. You don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Stop, no, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain that I bring. You know it's only the beginning.